back to another one of my videos. I attend the University of Oregon as a college freshman. Now, this video is going to be on zero waste in college, or how to live with zero waste in college. If you're new to zero waste like I am, zero waste doesn't actually mean you're going to have zero, like absolutely no waste, but it's basically this movement that is encouraging sustainability, more biodegradable products, and the like. Now, before I actually get on with the video, with the tips and tricks on how to reduce your waste, I do want to say that we all have busy lives, and we shouldn't neglect small changes that we can make, because oftentimes those little changes done over a long period of time, or if it's a lot of people doing this small change, can actually make a really big difference. So don't not do that little change that might help the environment. If you already watch my videos and you know to hydrate, this is actually one of the first tips, which is to get a reusable, possibly stainless steel water bottle. And it's come to my knowledge, looking into the subject, that people actually still use a lot of those single-use plastic water bottles. And if you know, plastic is not good for the environment. It is not very biodegradable, or at least it takes a really, really long time to, decompose into the natural elements. Getting a reusable water bottle is a pretty basic first step to becoming more climate friendly, and it's actually really easy to get used to. Most of us have reusable water bottles without even thinking of the climate. One thing I did want to say is I actually did some research on this, and drinkopenwater.com had this article that said that the US uses 1,500 single-use plastic water bottles, and get this, every second. 1,500 single-use water bottles. That's a lot of plastic every year. Like, imagine how much non-biodegradable product that produces every year within the US. That's not really good for the environment, and so this is just an easy thing that you can do. If you are concerned with the water quality because your tap water isn't the best quality, and that's why you're actually buying water from the store, consider getting a water filter instead. It'll up your water quality and reduce all of your plastic water bottle waste in the long run. Along with more plastic waste reduction, I've actually been doing this unintentionally. I didn't know this was a really big thing, but I saw this from a different video, and the tip is to use bar soap because of the packaging. Bar soap actually usually comes in packages like these, which is like paper, cardboard type material. And if you've used liquid soap or body wash, it usually comes in a plastic container. So that's just another little tip to think about. Like I said in the beginning of the video, I'm actually new to this whole zero waste thing, or the zero waste movement, but when I looked into it, it actually reminded me a little bit of minimalism, and that's been sort of popularized by Dyalla and other similar YouTubers. So it's actually very similar, but more focused on reducing your waste. The next tip is to avoid wasting food. There's actually two sort of tips I have that actually kind of are the same thing, and they are avoid getting foods, or don't get foods that you aren't actually going to eat. And the second one is actually use everything that you buy or take with, as in regards to food. And they are pretty much the exact same thing. Like, if you don't get food that you don't eat, then you do eat all the food that you get. So they kind of take care of each other. I found an article on TommySuperfoods.com that says from 1960 to 2015, the US generated 39,730,000 tons of food waste, and roughly 30,250,000 of that waste went to landfills, that's a lot of food waste going into landfills. Only about 3/4, a little bit more than 3/4 of the waste goes to the landfills. That's not good. We want to be, recycling or doing other things. The website actually had a bunch of tips on how you can help to reduce waste, and I'm actually gonna steal some of my favorite ones that they said. The first one is to compost. Now, we know to compost because it's good to return the nutrients into the soil and it's good for plants, but the main thing is also keeping food waste out of the landfills. Another tip they had was pretty similar to what I said, which is to shop responsibly. If you're not going to actually use everything you purchase, then you should consider buying less. This tip was actually very interesting. I like this tip. It said to buy ugly foods. And this kind of makes sense. A lot of consumers in America avoid like ugly fruits and vegetables, or misshapen fruits, but they're not necessarily less nutritious. So a lot of those ugly foods get thrown out. So I thought it was interesting to consider buying more ugly food. Another tip that they had that I liked was just to check the packaging. If the packaging says it's recyclable, that means you don't have to feel as bad about, getting vegetables in like this container. My camera just stopped recording. The next topic is avoiding throwing out clothing. Now, this is something I generally already know about. Of course, the basic thing is it's better to donate your old clothes after you're done instead of throwing them in the garbage. You can always donate to places like Goodwill. I'm sure there's other places looking for clothing donations, like thrift stores. There's a lot of options. One of the tips I came up with was to buy less trendy clothing and buy more clothing that is timeless. And the purpose of this is to keep clothes in your closet for longer. It's also because you don't want to be throwing clothes out because it's weird to wear in public or not fashionable. It's better to throw clothes out when it's actually worn out and unusable, at least in the sense of sustainability. I found this article from edgeexpo.com that says from 2000 to 2014, clothing production doubled and consumers on average purchased 60% more clothing items, but they were only kept half as long. One thing you should know is that cotton, which is a common material used in clothing, cotton is a very water-intensive crop. It takes 20,000 liters of water to grow a kilogram of cotton, and a kilogram of cotton is only enough to really produce one t-shirt, which is, like this. Another thing is, after reading this article, is the cotton industry is sort of known to be wasteful with its water. So, not good. Edge Expo also had that an average consumer throws out about 70 pounds of clothing waste or shoes every single year. And their last thing I wanted to add was that 95% of textiles in landfills could be recycled. Okay, I just wanted to end with some general guidelines. So these are pretty easy. 1, avoid using single-use items. So this means stuff like paper plates, plastic silverware, or straws. I know the straw thing became kind of a trend with people getting metal straws and saying like, I did my part, or save the turtles, right? In general, buy things that don't have plastic packaging. I know it's actually kind of hard to avoid because plastic packaging is so ubiquitous in grocery stores now, and like products in general have plastic packaging, so it is hard. Just do your best and try to find alternatives with recyclable packaging or no packaging. Another thing is to try to look for more sustainable or biodegradable products. Part of that is looking for, recyclable packaging or vegetables or produce that don't have packaging. I know in the zero waste movement, a lot of people talk about buying produce from local farmers markets, and I would agree with that. I've also seen a little bit on the internet about clothing companies like startup companies. I haven't heard so much about it, but there are companies out there where you can buy clothes, and then when you don't want to use it anymore, you can just send it back, and then they'll repurpose it or reuse it for something. And then the last thing I wanted to add is to reuse or repurpose things that you already own. So when you go grocery shopping, try to bring your own bags and take them home, preferably the reusable grocery bags. My mom does this a lot. Another thing my mom does is actually when we have a lighter colored towel that gets old or discolored and we don't want to use it after the shower anymore, she'll cut it up into wash rags, which I think is really smart because it works really well as a wash rag. And you know, wash rags don't have to be like aesthetic because it's for cleaning, like they can be brown or whatever. As an ending note, I do want to say these are all general guidelines to follow. I would encourage you to follow them to the best you can, but also don't be so strict about it that you become like a purist and you know your identity has changed because of these new rules that I just came up with. You also shouldn't feel so bad if there's something that you love using that isn't necessarily biodegradable. You know, still use it. I would say do your best to dispose of it, but you don't have to sacrifice things that you love right now in order to serve the environment, which I know is kind of honorable, but you have to be sort of selfish too. Like I love things and I want these things too. Like if you really love electric toothbrushes, use electric toothbrushes. Okay, that's gonna be it for this video. Thank you guys all for watching. If you liked this video, please leave a like on the video and subscribe to the YouTube channel. I usually make content more related to college, so if you're interested in that, make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell. Also, if you guys have any of your own tips, please leave them down in the comment section below. And that's gonna be it, so I'll see you all next week. All of our busy lives, or the earth, not really good for an environment. What the heck? I'm not cool. Things with plastic packaging. Oh boy.